Welcome back to Exploring the Metaverse, where we explore the depths of virtual and augmented reality and much more technology and how all of that applies to regular people just like us and perhaps you. It's absolutely my pleasure to have Mr. Tio back on the show. How you doing, bro?
Doing good. How are you, Matt?
Very well. Thank you very much for being here. I'm really excited about this episode. I think you, us, have found some really awesome, awesome angles of excitement in the industry right now that it just blows my mind how you look away for one day and there's something new happening. There's always something changing and developing, and it's tough to stay on top of things. And I really find it really interesting and exciting when we take the time to bring this information together, and not just for you and I, which we would do regardless of this podcast, but to share it with folks. And yeah, I think it's really interesting how much is going on in this space.
Absolutely. Like things are moving so fast, and I'm happy to make like let's say a follow up episode on our last one about the Vision Pro. We have some angles that we want to discuss that we didn't have time to discuss, and well, we touched on, but now we have a little bit of articles that we were reading, and we can discuss them a little bit more and add a little bit more to our discussion that we had last time.
Absolutely. And I think it would be awesome to let the people know that we can drop all the links to the references or sources of the material here in the show description. So if you want to check anything out, we've got a good variety of content. And yeah, so let's get into it. What is the first thing that's been on your mind, Mr. Teo, about this incredible new technology?
I think this one will make you happy, my friend.
Uh-oh.
It's basically some surgeons have done an operation on a patient
Oh yeah.
in the UK
Oh yeah.
using, well, adding to their team a Vision Pro.
Isn't it early? Like, isn't it early to be just like testing on people? Now, don't get me wrong, I love it, but wow. Like, how does that get vetted by the healthcare body, by the hospital? Do they just do whatever they want?
Well, first of all, they had to import this thing from the States because it's only sold in the States at this point. Uh, so there was some planning to do this, right? And not only that, then yes, absolutely, the fact that they were allowed to bring in this Vision Pro during spine surgery by basically what it was doing, it was suggesting the best tools to approach the surgery for them. It's kind of insane.
Who
Like,
wrote the software for this? How does this exist so quickly? Like, this is incredible
I
to me.
don't know, my
And I
friend.
mean,
It's
I've had many patients that have had spinal procedures, and I look at this picture and the surgeon with the Vision Pro scrubbed into the operating suite. I mean, this is insane to me. And I know we touched on this as sort of a brief example of how a surgeon could use a tool such as this to highlight particular information and to potentially aid them and their team in making the best possible decisions in real time. This seems amazing, and I, as a nurse and as a recipient of healthcare, I find it incredibly promising to see the brightest and sharpest minds already looking at a tool like this as yet another finely tuned precision instrument to improve people's outcomes and to make healthcare more effective. Hopefully, I don't know how much more cost effective it is to have a 3,500 US dollar additional computer in the room, but I look at it from the perspective of patient outcomes. And if this is able to give people better surgical success, I mean, I'm all for it. I think it's incredible.
it is incredible, but the cost I don't think is a big deal. You know how much that medical equipment costs and how much the
Yes.
maintenance costs and all that kind of stuff. I'm like I'm a nurse and we work basically in the same hospital, so we know how much that equipment costs. So a 3500 Vision Pro won't add too much to the budget, but on the other hand, yeah, it's an added cost. But if it really can bring or maybe more than bringing, taking away some errors that can happen
Exactly.
um, while the surgery is there, or can speed up the procedure. That is a game changer. That will change how everybody approaches surgery, and it will make it more effective. It will make it quicker. It will make it faster. And sometimes we've used this term before. It's like when surgery is happening, it's just a patient in, patient out, patient in, patient out. So if they can take away 5, 10, 15 minutes from a surgery, well, that's maybe another patient that will be able to get a surgery faster than somebody else, right?
Yep. No, and I completely see where you're going with that. And I really see it the same way. I'm just shocked, that we're jumping right into spine surgery. Like, what about a
Exactly.
little minor skin procedure? Couldn't we just practice a couple of sutures on a consenting adult in the emerge or something? Like, holy smokes, bro. It takes everything for me to not throw a little cuss word down on the subject. Like, wow. I think that this is the kind of example that really demonstrates to everyone how relevant, how in your face, no pun intended, this really is. And you can put your head in the sand. You can try to deny it and say, well, I don't care and it doesn't affect me and I'm not going to buy one. So why should I care? But at the end of the day, when your surgeon straps one on his face, you need to take a step back and really consider how this could potentially be a beneficial tool, not just for that surgeon, but for each of us in our own lives, even trying a new recipe or something like that.
Yeah, it's gonna start to be way more mainstream after things like this start happening on a regular basis, right? It's not gonna be only, oh, it's for the elite, or it's for the
No,
tech enthusiast. This is something that you want to know how it works and how it will improve the quality of life on certain aspects of uh, the everyday living, and you're gonna want to keep up with this kind of information, right?
well, you talk about everyday living. I think that's really a good segue into this other incredibly awesome article that you found about the airline using Vision Pro headsets as in-flight entertainment. Like, talk about something that could be impacting people, well, probably in first class to start. I don't imagine that they're gonna have, 175 of these things in the coach cabin where most of us will be flying. But this is an incredible move by a major company that really demonstrates some semblance of belief in the product. The thing that comes to my mind immediately, though, is the eyes, the specialized custom sizing and fitting and all of that. Like, even in the tech YouTubers where there's two people in the room that have been sharing, a headset to look at, it's not a great experience for the second person. How do we get past that immediately and just throw them into airplanes?
Well, first of all, it's an high end airline that's trying to do this, and they're probably trying to gain an advantage on the other high end airlines that they
Yeah,
have.
I'm gonna assume
And
that's what it
yes,
was.
the fitting is going to be weird. It's I don't know how they're going to implement this, because uh, Apple is forcing you to set it up for yourself, and you're going to be buying what, 100 for a big huge plane, and they're not gonna be what, generic, like just the basic like average person setup, and it's gonna be uncomfortable. I think it's, if for somebody like me, maybe for you that you're closer to the average, but I'm 6'4", I'm a big man, I have a big face. What is the little kid that's being brought by their parents on this extra luxury flight is gonna do with the same Vision Pro that's fit for me, or vice versa, right?
It's
But
It's just the first step.
The entertainment factor that it's going to be, and I've been on a flight recently, it's for unfortunate circumstances, but I've been on a flight, and the potential though
Oof.
for in-flight entertainment being provided by something like a Vision Pro, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like
I've flown
you're
business class. I've been in the extended bed. I know about that. Thank you to my dad for using his points to get me down to Australia. And it was great as it is, but the thing that still was persistent was the airplane, the sound of the airplane. The you recognize the other people. There's dividers and things like that, but you know that you have neighbors, and this type of immersion, this type of escapism in that kind of a loud and sort of distracting, bothersome environment, I think is very much um, the right application for this technology to bring it into an environment such as an airplane, where being able to sort of escape from these slight unpleasantries of it can really be beneficial. And I think that beyond the Maldivian airline, is as the article indicates here, I think they're going in the right direction. I think it's a great way to get attention to their brand and to really bring value to the passengers.
absolutely. And attention to the brand is another segue that we can have to another article that Forbes has been releasing, and it talks about augmented reality and how it could be a game changer in the next marketing strategies for companies. Basically, what they're saying is that in some shape or form, we already have this augmented reality. Like Amazon has their see it in your house
They're
kind of
cool.
thing,
It's cool.
and IKEA does more or less the same thing. But imagine that with a headset, and that
Mhm.
scans your house, scans your rooms, and you can put everything where you want it, and it will be at scale because the processing power will be that, and you can see it at scale, right, how it should be in your
I mean,
house, with a
I'm trying to
decent model.
design a space right now in our new home. Like, I'm working on my new studio space in my mind and on a piece of paper. And the possibility of building that three-dimensional space, recreating it one to one, and being able to go in and place objects in one to one real time and space, how much money and time can I save in being able to have the trial and error process done virtually instead of trying to, buy things and have them work or not work and put holes in the wall. And I when I read this, I thought, man, this is the coolest article that's underselling the actual potential benefit and outcome, not only to the people doing the marketing, but to the recipients of it.
Yeah, but think about how easier some of the jobs of the people that are
Wow,
doing
yeah.
interior designing, how easier that could be for them using a tool like this, just having a vision and putting this vision immediately in the space that they have to fill, how easy and how much more streamlined their work will be, like just using a tool like this for everything. And not only that, we're or going outside and augmented reality, and you see a billboard and it immediately triggers uh, the the Vision Pro to show you what you're interested, because your eyes stuck more than 3 seconds on that billboard. So it'll give you more information immediately about that billboard.
And perhaps
Uh,
interactable, right? Like, why couldn't
yeah,
we have a direct personal interaction with that marketing piece, like on the spot? I
yeah.
feel like
Just
there can be,
pull
it's
up
like
the product,
yeah,
pull up the specs, pull up whatever
yeah,
information you need to know
rotate
about
it,
it.
inspect it. Who knows if you're wearing some tactile glove and get a feeling for it. Maybe, you've got environmental triggers such as a scent station bringing smells into the air to mimic the experience. Maybe you've got a fine leather jacket or something type of thing. There's so much potential here. And when there's money to be made, the companies are going to be chasing this, tracking it down and backing it up. And they're going to be just like pumping it if that's where the people go. If people like surgeons who have the money to buy things are interested, I just don't see this going anywhere other than forward.
Yes, that's like we are entering a game changer time with this technology. This is gonna be something that has so much potential that we only our imagination can bring us this far, and who knows and how fast it's gonna evolve
Well, and the
and get us
developers
to that point, right?
who wrote the software for this surgeon to do the back surgery to have the device interactable with the human body in real time, like day one. Like that's incredible to me.
When they can't even get a YouTube app to work on it.
Right? Like, what is going on? It's amazing. So I don't know exactly what kind of information, and I know I'm jumping back to that previous example, but Dio, like the fact that we can interact with the world around us, with the people around us, um, from a safe, secure, comfortable environment. I could see a future where, people were perhaps motivated by their uh, country's leadership, perhaps to remain in their homes for potential global reasons and potential future circumstances. And I don't like talking about that big global thing that we all had to deal with, but imagine how much more connected and capable citizens and children could be working and going to school and having recreation time on these kind of devices instead of trying to use their mom's iPad to, connect to Google School with their class. They're actually there with their class, feeling included, having I feel it just blows my
You
mind.
just
Just
triggered something in my head that's
okay.
probably gonna blow your mind when I say it now. Think about the fact that we were actually going through that and we had to pause all the surgeries. Now
Everything.
think about the fact that you could have a Vision Pro with a team with a Vision Pro strapped on with a robot arm
Da Vinci
with
robot there,
lasers
yeah.
to keep doing surgeries with no human interaction, only the robot doing the surgery inside of the surgery room with all the surgeons at home doing it there.
But what happens if something goes wrong? Like that's the question,
Well,
right? Like what
this is
happens if
50 years down the road, but
fair?
think about it. It could have been
Oh
an
yeah.
option,
Oh, I
and we
don't doubt
didn't
that for a
have
second.
backlogs of surgeries,
Well,
people dying because they couldn't get
yeah.
transplants, all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
I
right?
don't know. I want the robot doing my heart transplant, but maybe in the future I wouldn't want a human to do that because we're fallible and humans, robots are immersed and capable. They have the AI, they have the full interactability through an immersive headset experience, and it just seems that marketing and surgery and things like this are just the tip of the iceberg. All right, Tio. So I think it's absolutely the kind of subject that there's angle after angle, but there's some big players in the game. There's some big money, big movers in the market that are absolutely going to drive this industry forward, one direction or another, or multiple directions. And one of the main competitors, of course, we've given, Mr. Tim Cook and Apple a lot of time, but Facebook, certainly, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, has a lot to say about this subject. And he seems to think, and I mean, from a surface level, it sounds a bit silly. He seems to think that the Facebook Meta Quest 3, is it called now, or 4 or 5? I don't know.
I think
No,
it's
the
Meta
3,
Quest 3.
that is much better, or better, at least in his eyes, than the Apple Vision Pro. And I think the real word would be different, but I don't know that he would like to admit that. I mean, I think they're kind of pointing at different sections of the market, but What did you gain from what he was actually saying?
I think that what he wanted to express is the fact that Apple has pulled no punches with releasing this device, and in cost, in quality, in processing power, and what the product that they are releasing, which is the Quest 3, is a more accessible product for the masses. It has
Yeah.
a lower cost. It, I think he's trying also to say that the processing power is not much different from what we can expect, or what we can actually use at this point in the market. He's saying that basically Apple released a device for that price, expecting it to be in 3 to 5 years the same price of the Meta Quest, saying that in 3 or 5 years, this Vision Pro that they release now would be the same price as the Meta Quest, and giving it more accessible to the masses. I don't disagree with him. I think that if we want to start bringing the metaverse to the people, more accessible to everybody, Zuckerberg is doing the right thing in putting
Yeah.
a lower cost with a lower processing power and more accessible, compared to Apple that's released a product that is less accessible, more for the elite.
There
Um,
doesn't seem to be a killer app, like a major drawing reason. Like, okay, it's more fun to watch movies on, or but like, why? There's still, I think both of them are still grasping at the core value proposition for the consumer and the most like marketable points. And
yeah,
I think
and
Zuckerberg, his main point is that accessibility for cost. um, and like it says, their device, this is to quote Mark, he says, yes, their device has higher resolution, but they paid for it by making other compromises that make their device inferior in many ways. This is not what we're striving for. And I think that's, he's saying that they're striving for the average market and to have a more consumer ready product and not as much of a sort of a future target demonstration, tech demo in a way, if you will, a high end one at that, that Apple's sort of toying with.
I think that Apple is, well, according to certain reports and articles that we can read, is already recognizing this, and there is rumors that a cheap Vision Pro is
Oh
going to
yeah,
be
that's right.
released with
Yeah.
cutting some features from it. And the features that they're cutting, it doesn't look like it's gonna affect anything about the experience.
No.
There's three major features that have been brought up by this article in Mashable, which is, one is the fewer camera and sensors. I don't think that that's gonna affect
Well, I
much the
think
experience.
on a positive side, I think that's going to bring the weight down. And, to a casual user who's a little bit less interested in the highest specifications, the most megahertz and frames per second, just to have a good, comfortable, fun experience, if it weighs less on your face, you can generally do most of the same stuff, you know? I really think that that is actually a very potentially positive thing. And I would like to see them include a controller so that you can have a little bit of touchscreen pinch, pinch, flippity flip, but also that little bit of a tool that you can use for slightly more precise inputs.
Yeah, that's something that I think that is needed, because the hand gesture kind of thing is a little bit finicky, I think, and
It's, I think,
having
having to have your
something.
eyes focused, right, in the exact spot that you're pinching. And I can see how like, to drag a window, that's fine. But to try to play a game where you might actually be operating in your peripheral vision a little bit, these cameras and sensors, if they're on the outside of the device or the inside of the device, as long as it's achieving the prime directive, I don't think the average normal consumer, myself, is going to need to have everything as high end. as I think Apple's looking at right now.
exactly,
Because our Quest is fun. We have a Meta Quest at home, Meta Quest 2. It doesn't have nearly the cameras and sensors. And you strap that thing on your face, it's a ton of fun. You play a fun game, you have an immersive experience. I would like the resolution on that model to be a little bit higher, but that's the direction they're going. But from my perspective as a user, I don't really care about the cameras and sensors as long as it feels good in my face and does basically what it's supposed to do.
exactly,
And
exactly.
yeah, you say like that. How much that's going to bring the cost down too, right?
Yeah, it's going to bring the cost down. They say around the 2,000 to between $1,500 and $2,500, probably
That's
American.
USD.
They're talking about, yeah. So yeah, that's still a price cut. It's still
It's a
elevated compared
huge drop,
to,
though. Really,
yes, yeah.
that's a
It's a
great
third. They're dropping a third of the price by doing that.
the first try,
They're
and that's just an
Yeah, exactly.
iteration. That's just a tweak. So what else are they doing to make it cost less money?
Uh, they're not going to be putting in their high-end M series chip,
Oh
which
yeah, the
is
processing unit.
probably,
Hey,
they probably could achieve the same thing with the A series.
but their
The
margins. They
I
still
know,
want to. This is Apple.
I know.
They're not going to give
Yeah,
you anything for free, bro. You're going to pay
if they
4,
put
5, 10x on it.
the two processors from the latest iPhone in there, they probably would achieve the same thing instead of the M series chip. But
I think
that's
this is really a shining moment for Apple moving into this kind of technology in that they have this integration between the hardware and the software. And I hope they can find greater and greater efficiencies in the battery usage. Get rid of that little battery pack as well. Take away the cameras and sensors, but why don't we build the battery into the headset and keep it light and comfortable?
yeah. Well, battery technology, that's a whole new episode probably that we
But
can
one
talk
day,
about.
yeah, they'll definitely the battery thing is changing and changing. And aren't they taking out the fancy optics as
Yes,
well? Um,
thank the Lord.
or-
Those
for
that screen in front, that I don't think I understand why they did it, and I understand why they put that screen in that
the fake eyes, the
eyes.
representation of yours. Yeah, I think it looks creepy. Is the word that comes to mind.
Exactly,
I think it is a bit unnecessary. It's already unnatural having huge
exactly.
ski goggles on your face in a grocery store. Like, let's just accept that fact immediately. I think maybe what it might do though with the eyes, the idea behind it is that like that somebody's still looking. That they can still see you because their
Yeah,
eyes are there. I think that's their intention. But I think the actual interpretation and execution of it still comes across a little bit absent from actual reality.
yes. Like the way it's been implemented, I think it's not the greatest.
I would happily trade that off for $500 off the price. Get rid of the creepy eyes. So
oh yeah,
I'm
oh
down.
yeah,
Okay, I would
yeah,
just put
exactly,
just a pure black. The only thing about it that I look at from a sort of a higher level perspective is then you don't know, or you don't at least think you know what I'm doing with my eyes at that point, and it
yeah.
feels a bit intrusive perhaps to be in a public setting with a headset on. There's no indication if that person is looking or recording or just watching a show to themselves. And I think that really is a big subject that is going to be a part of societal conversations for many years to come.
It's going to be a privacy thing. It's going to be um, an interaction thing that's going to need to change because if if everybody's going to be wearing them, they're going to be immersed in their experience, and they're not going to be distracted or paying attention to other people. But if 10 people have it and 50 don't, you you don't know if somebody is actually like literally staring at you
Yeah,
and
it's a bit unnerving.
changing the clothes on you
Yeah,
with
right.
augmented reality.
I
Like
think that's the
that,
kind of
those are
thing that
things that,
people worry about.
oh yeah, it's
And rightly so. Like, you absolutely should. So, I would say, Tio, these are fantastic topics, suggestions, and ideas for a future episode that we should be bringing to the beautiful people in the very near future. Is there anything else you wanted to add to today's discussion that's on your mind?
I think that we covered more in depth some of the topics that we hit on the previous episode. Probably there's going to be more news that comes out, and applications and cool applications of the Vision Pro that we might can touch in future episodes as a little tidbit here and there. But I think that this was a good follow up to our latest episode, to episode 18,
I
and
couldn't
to
agree
give a
more.
little bit more insight to where things what might be going very soon with this new technology.
Awesome. Awesome, bro. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening to this episode 19. But thank you very much for your time. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please don't forget to leave a review on the podcast, especially on that Apple podcast platform. It's so very much appreciated. Spotify as well, and all of your favorite podcast platforms. We are there. Check the show description. We're going to have links to the articles and also, importantly, the email address to the show. If you or anyone you know or represent would like to be a guest on the show, please have them contact us at ExploringTheMetaverseTogether at gmail.com. That's ExploringTheMetaverseTogether at gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful day. Tio, thank you so much, bro.
Thank you, Matt. I wanted to add one more thing. This is going to be probably the first episode we're going to be recording and putting up on YouTube
Oh, yeah,
with
YouTube.
actually video. So
Yay.
you can see our beautiful faces here.
Yes,
Meanwhile, we interact with each other. And yeah, just give us there's going to be a link in the description to our YouTube channel. You can
thank you.
come and follow us there and see how we actually look in real life.
I appreciate it. Thank you, bro. Have yourself a great day. And everybody, thank you so much, too.
Thank you. Thank you.